All right. Hello and welcome back to the Game Dev Show. I'm here today with Andrew, Greg, Corvallis, and myself. And we're going to be going over, one weird project that I've been working on that I want to show everybody and get some feedback on and get it kind of torn apart. I want to talk about the code in there, the design, and a little bit about the data management stuff. There's some stuff in there that I think Story would be interested in. And then I wanted to briefly talk a little bit about GDC next week on Wednesday, doing a special live stream from the Unity office during GDC. Going to bring in a couple exciting special guests and have some cool announcements. And then if we have time, we'll also get into some resume reviews. So welcome everybody. Before we get started, I did have a couple little sponsors that I wanted to hit the button and thank, if I can find them. So let me play them both right now, and then we'll jump into the show. Game Dev Show is sponsored by me. If you want to learn how to build multiplayer games and you're not sure how to start or how to get it done, go to game.courses and check out the Multiplayer Mastery course. It's my latest course on advanced game development where you'll learn how to build both a peer-to-peer racing game and a Diablo-style RPG with inventory, abilities, and spells, and a whole lot more. And if you're a new game developer or just getting into the industry, check out the Game Programmer course. It'll take you from zero experience to the point where you can build and deploy a fun local multiplayer game. You can enroll in both of them at game.courses today. This episode of the Game Dev Show is sponsored by Demos, makers of Chat Avatar and the upcoming Rodin. They're building AI for 3D model generation and already have working faces generated from image or text that you can control and animate in-game. They have examples showing all kinds of faces from real people to stylized characters, but I wanted to import my own into Unity and play around, and I was really impressed with how easy it was and just how adjustable the face is. As sponsors of the show, they've offered to give away 10 free credits to the first 99 listeners who use the code in the description, and I'll put a link down there as well. You can try it out, generate yourself or your favorite person, and import them directly into Unity or whatever tool you want. They support Blender, Unity, Unreal, and all of the tools that you would normally expect. Now, Chat Avatar is really cool, but they're also working on something that may be even more exciting, which is generating 3D models from images and text. That's coming out soon, so check out Chat Avatar while you're waiting, go import your head, and keep an eye on their upcoming AI game tech. All right, thanks to those sponsors. And before we get into my game stuff, I like saying thanks to me. That's like before we get into the game stuff, Corvallis, I was really curious about your thoughts on the AI face generation and model generation, because I know that out of all of us, you're definitely going to have the most insight on it. So is that something that you've seen a lot of lately? Do you think, is that a big thing in the AI industry? Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, AI model generation has been around for a bit. At first, it was super decimated, like poor topology models for very simple shapes. I tried out a couple for objects, but humanoid faces and the level of depth you would need for like bone deformation or blend shapes was definitely not there. Chat Avatar seems to be able to do that better, where before the closest analogy was a plugin called Headshot for Character Creator 4, and that's like a $600+ software for an additional $80 plugin. So not very accessible, and it was a bit hit or miss, especially the more stylized the face would be. It was effectively a texture mask just on top of basic face topology, and it could kind of work. Seeing this both as an accessible kind of generatable option and how well it kind of did on your face, that has me interested. Because for pipelines, you want a face that has all of the base kind of lip visemes you want, all the A, E, I, O's for facial capture, and some basic eye look arounds and blinks. And once you have that, that's all you really need to have a face be able to either be mocapped onto or automatically controlled in a nice fidelity way. So it looks really good.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it, just getting my face, and it, like I said, it even got me with my beard. It kind of fattened me up just a little bit, I think, because all of my pictures were of my beard really big, but I need to like one day just do a quick shave, and then I don't want to do it, but I'll have to be beardless for a day and shave. It looks like Christina popped in, so I'm going to add her to the stream and see if she's got any thoughts on this stuff. Christina, you been following the AI model generation stuff at all?
A little, and hi.
Hello. Well, first, do you want to introduce yourself? I'm sure most of the people watching already know who you are, but if you want to introduce yourself.
Just a moment. Hi, I'm Christina from Christina Creates Games. First time here, so this is all new what I'm seeing here. I'm a hobby game developer and a design teacher from Germany.
Nice. And I think if the link's not in the description, we'll put a link to her channel down in the description so everybody can go check it out. You got lots of awesome tutorials that go kind of, I would say, pretty in-depth on topics. It takes topics and dives into how to use them and how to use them right. A lot more than I do a lot of the time. Anyway, welcome. But yeah, thoughts on AI stuff, this AI model generation. I like throw you right into the fire.
Yeah, that's all right. Not yet a big fan of it. The things I have seen were just the 2D stuff looks very, I'm very sorry, programmer art style to me. Like there's seemingly not an artist on the team with artist backgrounds, and I feel like the same happens with 3D models. So there can be quite cool looking ones, but maybe not just usable yet. At least not to me.
That's fair. I've been struggling with texture generation stuff too. I keep seeing these really cool texture generation tools, and then I look at like the Publisher of the Week asset today, where I got another 350 materials that I probably only need like one or two of, and go into my library of thousands of materials. So I'm just, yeah, I feel like for models and all of this stuff, it's really only. It makes a lot of sense for very custom, great, like high-end stuff, but for just generic stuff, it's not as useful. So it's got a little while to go, but the face stuff is really cool, and I'm excited about where the model stuff ends up, because then eventually I feel like maybe it's still like 10 years down the road, but eventually I'll be able to just say what model I want and have a program kind of generate that model for me and adjust it, just like I would having a 3D modeler do it. At least that's my hope. I mean, not that I don't like 3D modelers. I just can't afford to have one in my bedroom with me all the time to model stuff. Like
cheaper if you keep them in the kitchen though.
Keep them in the kitchen. You got to keep them in the basement.
Yeah, because if they're in the kitchen, they got the food. If they're in your bedroom, you
have to deliver for them food.
Yeah. So it's
Fair enough.
I have a lot of students who want to become 3D modelers and want to get into game dev and game development, all the things. They would be kind of sad hearing that.
Yeah. I think that for them, they'll be using the tools. Like my thought is that long-term 3D modelers and artists will be using these same tools. They'll just be much faster. Instead of having to drag around single vertices, they'll explain what they want to do or move whole bits, and they'll have easier tools for it. And I still expect that an artist will do a much better job of building a model than I would. Like even with the best tools, like I'm still going to make something that looks pretty terrible.
You'll be able to prototype very quickly. But when it comes to a ship title for a AAA studio or even a AA studio who just wants something unique, it's not going to be. If it's anything's AI obvious, then it's people I think are going to be like, well, I see the AI, but you get a human to redo your prototype, and everybody wins, I suppose, in my head at least.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things you need to take into account to make a model usable in a game engine too. That I'm not sure how good the AI models are going to get those off the bat.
Yeah, it'll be a while.
I think you had actually mentioned earlier too, Christina, that art direction, definitely a big thing that any generative content suffers from. You can tell when someone has an art direction background and can actually design something with an intent, with that curation, versus I hit button and got thing out. Fun for prototyping. You still always want some form of specialist to go through it or to go over it. It just might help with the initial startup process, but otherwise, you absolutely still need someone to actually modify and work with that content.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Is everybody ready to tear apart my game now and my amazing art?
Full of AI?
Yes, it is full of amazing AI. Well, a little tiny bit. So this is the main window. And I wanted to show it to people without explaining things first, just to get an idea of what they would expect. So you see this screen. What would you do first, Andrew? You're right in the middle, so I picked you.
Oh, so what would I do as a player? Or to
Yes.
fix it?
As a player, you just saw this and somebody said, "Hey, play my game, please."
Oh, I'd start choosing a character. I would choose I'd click through all the characters first of all, and then to see what they change with the stats and all that. And try to get a sense of, oh, you can choose 3 at once. Ooh, so now it's combos. So now I'd have to click through all the combos. I'd spend about 30 minutes. No, I would choose. I would look at the click around, see what the different combos do, try to get a sense of what each one does. I would end up going with something that is like, a decent balance, but probably a little bit more on the magic side than the physical attack side.
Okay. My draw would be click on the cool sounding classes because you have Necromancer and that activates a neuron in my brain where I have to pick that. Then we have Dragon, which again does the same thing. So now I have Necromancer Dragon. We're going to look for something that's that seems like a more normal class for me to pick. Then I saw Enchanter, and then I've impulsed for Necromancer Dragon Enchanter because I like those words. One thing though I wouldn't know is, since I see you can select up to 3, it'd be nice to be able to see the other ones I have selected. Where I see
like the visuals of them right here.
Yeah, so like if they could like hover in the background, so I see we have like Enchanter selected, but Dragon and Necromancer pictures like in the back to show I'm building my little team.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So is it a multi-class character, or are you building 3? Okay.
Yeah. So in a production game, I'd probably expect to see, if I chose Dragon, it would be a dragon, and as I chose the other things, the dragon would change its look.
It would, get
so many combinations.
Or if you want to, if it's all different classes into one person, you could have like a little silhouette at the top, and then show the little bubbles of each class is going to go into that person. Oh yeah, kind of visually imply you're building your little class sets.
Especially if you're never going to see this guy again.
Yes.
I would also try to hover or click on the little skills on the right to see what they do. I'm a fan of range, so I saw it briefly, arrow, and that would be something I'd be like, ooh, what's this? What's this?
Oh, wait, which one?
Yeah, all of those. One of them was just bow shot. So those are I would love bows. So I would be like, oh yeah, let me look at bows and see what that does. So I would certainly look at those, and that would sway my decision making, I'm sure.
Okay. Anything else?
Reading the classes, Dread Knight, Paladin, and Warrior, they all seem interesting, but I definitely want to know what kind of sets them apart. Because we have what I imply is like basic non-magical warrior, but then Dread Knight and Paladin both kind of operate the same. This is a punchy man, but with some magic, kind of a magical punchy man. So I definitely probably want to look at them to see, okay, what really makes them different? Is one like more support? Is one like more debuff offense? Getting to like the nitty gritty more.
I was also
that's something that's not really figured out right now.
It also looks like you're missing one in the bottom right corner, and I was wondering, did you plan on like the top row being like melee fighting, the second row being ranged fighting, the third row being magic fighting, and the fourth row being like general?
I just kind of organized them that way after I realized that they kind of matched up with that, and I was playing with the stat bars. So like the second row has the highest attack, third row has the highest magic stuff. Yeah,
interesting. Okay.
And I just kind of rearranged them and grouped them by that. And the only reason this one's missing is because I just made up Enchanter and Dragon in the middle of the night last night, and I haven't made it up anymore. I think I might add like a robot and other stuff. I don't know. I was just kind of playing around.
You should probably add the mushroom monster there.
The mushroom monster is actually one of the characters.
Okay, good.
I forget what. Let me find the data real quick, and we can look. So if we go into my custom window here, and we look at character classes. Oh, where's the preview? Why is the preview model not showing? I don't know why my preview is not showing up in there. Let's just check the other window. It works in the other one. In my main window, this is the clone one. To dock this, and if we find the character
I
classes,
think the preview just showed up before you tabbed away.
oh, did it? Oh, well, there we go. I'm just impatient is the problem. So yeah, one of these has the mushroom monster assigned. Which one is it?
That's nice.
It is assassin. So yeah, if I make an assassin, I will be a mushroom monster.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then okay.
What kind of screen size
Anything
is
else
this
on-
game supposed to be played on?
Right now it's set to just a 1080p and just scaling off of that.
Okay,
Because
so more
I,
like
I can't read half of the text of your screen.
Oh, really?
I mean, that play button is very, very prominent. But
Yeah.
once you start hovering above Warrior, Dread Knight, Paladin, and stuff.
Oh yeah, those tooltips are terrible. I need to fix that. Yeah, that's meant to hold like 3 lines of text, and it's gotten way too big.
actually kind of on that, the text underneath the bubble, it's gray on white. You might want to change the like under where it says Warrior, Dread Knight, and Paladin for the icons, that bottom text to potentially like increase the size and maybe make it a more contrasting color.
Okay, these ones down here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because like the tooltip has that, where then it's a bigger blue icon with blue text, but like from a distance.
Kind of hard to see.
Hmm.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, certainly the UI readability is one of those things that I've always felt it's such an obvious must have, right? You must have readable UI, but it's also surprisingly difficult to get right. You know, and every time I try to do it, I keep getting better. But then 2 days later, I come back and do something that's even better, and it's like it's incrementally better. So it's a very difficult challenge, readability in UI.
Yeah, definitely not something you get on the first draft.
No.
Usually, good part about other people ripping apart your games, they'll see it. When you're coding for like hours upon hours, you get used to it. We look at really tiny text and a lot of it at once, which is why like coder UI happens. So getting a fresh pair of eyes of someone who's not seen
that's
behind the
not
scenes-
good. You're saying health 5, power 3. No.
Oh, God, I didn't even see that text. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh, yeah, I can't read that.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Also, you have so much different typography on there. I think this choose 3 and build your own champion. That's basically the same size. But then we go to Automagic, Assassinate, Taunt, and Bowshot, which are bolded text, I'd say. And they have a rather big outline. Up above it, the health, mana, and stuff is yet another. I think that's a normal cut, normal font size or font style. That's even smaller, but at once I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You've got 8 different kind of font styles on your screen at first glance.
So you're saying I need 2 more then and get up to 10?
Yes, absolutely. That's what I mean. No, you have one place to focus. You can only ever focus on one thing. And then you go, okay, maybe I have a headline, I have a sub-headline, and then I have all the normal text size. Go with 3. 3 is plenty.
3. Okay, I'll add 3 more. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I need to cut those down. All of these UI elements, by the way, are just stolen out of a UI kit. So I just took like the pack, took their pre-made things, and I moved them over, and I was like, all right, that's good. Looks better than what I would make. But I will change out all the fonts and get them aligned. I'm curious today. I think I might remove the text here, though. What's that?
That was the best way to prototype, is to do exactly that. It's just take something you've got in a pack, throw it on the screen, get it out there, and start working it. And
it looks much better than what I had before.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Did anybody realize how this thing works over here?
I see a few shades in the attack.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Is it showing you like the building up of the 3?
Yes, that's what it's supposed to show, but I don't think it represents it very well. There was nothing there, and I kind of like, well, why don't I add a little bar thing showing it, but it still doesn't show it at all.
It's difficult to know which character trait is, you know, since you can choose any of the 3, you're not taking one from each column or something. It's difficult to know which ones impacting it in which way. Maybe the tooltip would show you that or something.
It does if you have really good eyes. Right? You can see little tiny text.
Okay. I meant the tooltip
But
over
yeah,
the
it's
bar. Like the bar might like if you hover over the bar, maybe it grows in size and shows you a little, indication as to which trait is giving you which amount. But
it's from each one, yeah. That
I
can
do
make
like
sense.
the concept of displaying the difference
And
between
adding more contrast might help too.
Yeah,
worth a try.
Slightly,
I haven't even gotten into the actual game though. This is literally just the menu.
Yep, there's a lot to go into for the menu.
Is the game.
Yeah. So and then this is did anybody see how the abilities were set up? Did that make sense, or was that obvious? Or
I didn't glean from.
Did you even know that you had abilities?
Well, I saw the abilities certainly, but I don't know how they come to play.
Because it seems like a class has a set of abilities, but when you click off, there's no indication of like where they went. My guess would be they build on top of each other. So if you took like warrior and ranger, you get the range shot, the bow shot, and like whatever the warrior's equivalents are. But
then there's four skills, so I'm not sure where the fourth one is grabbed from, right?
Mm-hmm. I like the small icons at the top left corner. Those are good indicators, at least to me. But
so that shows what character you're coming from.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. They do combine. Oh yeah. Okay, now I'm getting a better sense. Yeah, they do mix and match.
Yeah.
But what determines the top two? Is it just whichever you currently have selected? Yeah, it seems like that.
The most recent.
Hmm.
All right.
So
Yeah.
that's basically the base class. Yeah.
This is just, I mean, since you've got four things, one of the things that I enjoy about character creation is being able to choose my traits. So if you did have, say, 3 traits, maybe each one would have 2, and then you can choose 3 traits from a pool. So part of the selection process of choosing your characters, not just the stats, but also these little special abilities that you have.
Explain. So you pick a class, and instead of having one ability per class, have 2 or 3, and you pick one from that class.
It appears that each of your classes do have 2 abilities. So what you could do is say,
they each have one, and they have an auto attack. That's what this one up here is. So the last one that you pick picks your model and the auto attack, largely so that my auto attacks can have the animation and stuff matching for the model that I put in there.
That makes sense. So I would say if aside from the animation issue, if the player can choose which auto attack to choose of the 3, that would add a layer of choice that's not terribly difficult and make it so it doesn't matter which one you click last. I assume
so maybe move the auto attack to a separate spot and have them pick there.
It could be like, just a panel of 3 where auto melee is now that just, has a highlight option and you can choose which one where the other ones are automatically selected.
Because I could see where it caused confusion, where if the order you clicked them determines the other 2 abilities, and you start clicking around, which a player, when you have so many classes with so much flavor, clicking around's the impulse, where it's like, well, what does this do? What does this do?
Yeah.
And then you'll probably end up mixing up, well, wait, where do my abilities come from? And like, what order do I click to get the specific combo that I want?
Yeah, that was my thing. I wasn't sure how to deal with that because one of the thoughts I had was like making them just drag it. So you drag it onto the slots. Very obvious what you did. But then they have to figure out that they have to drag things. And then if they allow them to click, then I don't know how we deal with the full and click. And anyway, do you guys want to see what the actual game looks like?
Well, before we move on, I want
whatever.
to ask you. So
yes,
I'm pretty sure I recognize the GUI Pro Kit.
Yes.
So, but the art for like that character there, is that from a pack or is that Midjourney?
That is Midjourney opened up in Photoshop and hit remove background and drug in the best of the first 4 that I generated. They're all placeholders, so I just needed something that looked better than the default 1 placeholder, and I didn't want to go search around for something that met every random class idea that I had. So worked really quick, super fast.
Honestly,
it blends in well. It shows you the promise of what this could be.
Yes, that's kind of
without spending time on the details or gray boxing it, which things are more fun when they're not gray box.
It looks much better than the gray box version.
Yeah. So That's the problems for AI right now in 2024, in my opinion.
So here, let me pick a class that's got some good stuff. So make a mage.
All right, so now we know from the
Priest.
developer himself, some of the classes are
Assassin.
not as good as others.
Now this is the ones that have good particle effects, I should say.
In that unbalanced game.
You have a dragon in there.
How's
With
Dragon have
fire.
20 particle effects?
I do, but I wanted to use the mushroom monster model.
That makes sense. That is
yeah.
the number one thing for any developer.
That's the only reason I picked the assassin. Otherwise, I take the dragon. The dragon's ability has a shitty particle right now. Let's hit play. Let's see.
Why do you have the IP address down there? I guess
That
that's
was
the
for
model.
me testing dedicated server stuff. It doesn't actually work. So that's the internal IP, and I forgot, and I didn't put the right IP there, so I never finished it.
What is this, a Warcraft clone?
Yeah, it's basically Warcraft 7. So there's my character. I have it. So the normal mode is an 8-player giant circle map where you have towers going all the way around. But I put a 2-player mode in so I could test things out. And this is my mage who's not he's not the right class. He's supposed to be a mushroom monster.
Oh wow.
You can run around and obviously fight all the random jungle mobs. Let's see. I keep healing myself. And then at the core of it, once you have money, you can buy spawners for things and drop them onto the portals and start spawning creeps that'll walk across and then go take out the enemy tower. So there they go. They should spawn any second. Yeah. So chickens are going to be like my cheap little one. If you can't afford anything, you could afford some chickens.
When in doubt, chickens have your back.
And then they will come attack. Whoops. Heal myself. Heal. Still working on the animation and stuff is the last thing I've been working on, getting the characters actually animating and doing the right particles. But then they'll come over, attack the towers, take it out, and then you can start spawning guys from those towers afterwards. There's supposed to be an NPC bot, but I don't know if I broke him. Yeah, he's just standing still for some reason. I think I forgot. Oh, I forgot to rebake navigation. So he's probably spawning off the nav mesh. But essentially a MOBA with Clash Royale style stuff where you can control what's at each spawner just by buying things and putting them there. You can grab items that modify stats. Right now I've got kind of shitty items. A bow that I don't remember what that does. Oh, yeah, it gives some power. I haven't put in any of the content stuff for the actual creeps or the jungle stuff, and mostly working on all the system stuff. But now I'm ready to do that. So do that and some actual map design today and tomorrow before GDC. And it all works multiplayer. You can play 8 players. If I didn't fuck up my map, but I accidentally tell me if you guys have ever done this before. I was working on my thing. I had it in my 8-player map, and I was like, okay, I want a smaller map. I'll just duplicate level 1. I'll make a level 2, and I'll go in and shrink it down. So I did exactly that. I think Christina knows what happened. Did exactly that, and then I went back into level 1 and realized, oh yeah, that's the same damn terrain object. I just want to duplicate the scene. It references the same terrain, so I ended up breaking my thing, and I need to go back in and grab it out. But yeah, imagine like essentially. People in all 8 corners of a grid. Imagine like a 9 slice with 1 base on each side, and then circle going around, connecting all of the towers, and then crisscross with Darren the dragon in the middle. So you can go kill him if you want, and other jungle mobs that are worth lots of money and good items in the middle. So you can go fight other people in the middle. You can push your lanes. Or you can just jungle, I guess. And yeah, so it was kind of the options. They're doing all 3 of those at the same time, single player per team, 8 players. And then I'm thinking like quick matches, like 10 minutes most, 10, 15 minutes. And then you kind of bubble up and then go back in and try a different combo.
MOBA free-for-all, where everyone's on their own team playing their own MOBA game, and there can have alliances. You don't have to attack the person next to you, but
exactly. You don't have to. You guys can be like, hey, we're going to attack outwards until the end, and then other people can decide if they want to team up or not, or what they want to do. Like, I'm just going to send chickens at you. Yeah. I feel like it'd be fun, just kind of experiment around. I just need to get the in-game play nice and smooth and get the visuals fixed up, because right now I've got obviously like sideways sliding chickens and missing animations on most things. I was trying to get that damn the mushroom guy in there. He is in here. I was playing with him yesterday and he looks awesome. It's hilarious. So I think maybe mushroom will just be at class. I was thinking like I want to make the classes not like right now. I went with very generic RPG ones because it was super obvious. Like, what are the stats? What are the models? I'll just use. I already have this set. It's got archer, priest, warrior, paladin, and I'll just use those. But I want to kind of mix them up and make it less just standard fantasy and more like, mix and match, kind of more like a League of Legends, where some stuff is tech, some stuff is sci-fi, some stuff's magic, some stuff is like a pirate. Yeah.
What are you using for the damage numbers that go floating up?
Oh, I just made a little text damage thing. So there's a script that takes a damage text and it sends over an RPC and then pops that up on anybody that needs it. Just pops up a Text Mesh Pro instance, floats it up, and then I think right now it actually just destroys it. It doesn't even pull it or reuse it.
Small question too is, on your end, Jason, when you walk, do you drop frames? Because for the stream, it happens.
No, not at all. No, it's nice and smooth. I don't even know what nice 60 frames a second right now running in the editor with zero optimization and a ton of stuff going.
Once you move, everything goes blurry for me.
Yep. It goes down to 5 FPS.
That's the stream. Sorry. Oh, and then you can pick up items. You can trade items. So you can right now, as a side effect of the source of this, like you can just take an item. Let's see if I can click and drag it. Whoops. Is it not click drag? Oh, my visual's off. But you can take an item and just like drop it onto NPCs and give it to them, and they'll start using it. Or you can give it to another player, and it'll just pop up in their inventory. Which also could be fun in 8-player free for all if you can just run around and give people items. I mean, it might be bad if people just keep filling your inventory with chicken eggs, but
I have a malicious gifting. Although trade does make it interesting, as well as hostile trade, where they just keep throwing junk items at you to fill up your inventory.
You just like toss I mean, I feel like it'd be cooler instead of just dropping it instantly if it like made the item kind of fly over to the person too, so you can see them visually getting it.
You can send like little
World of
diplomacy
Warcraft
things.
had a rock you could throw to other people, or was it a ball or something? We played with that a lot during downtime in raids, and somebody would have constantly have his whole inventory filled up with balls and rocks and stuff, and was always complaining. And I think it was always my co-tank. I was not at fault.
I like the idea of a visual trade option where if you do try to give something to somebody, like maybe a dove, to Qualis's point, a dove comes and tries to give it to them. If they accept it, then they're accepting the item, but they're also like now can't attack you for 30 seconds or 60 seconds or something, as like it's a diplomatic exchange. So you can be like, hey, I'm giving you this, don't attack me. And they're like, okay, fine, I won't.
I think they should just have to stay to their word, and it should be a realistic diplomatic trade where all you really get is their word and hope.
Yeah, but I would never give anyone anything.
You could have the diplomacy games of it being a free-for-all feel like a very unique, interesting interplay where you send little preset messages like, this is a request for peace. It does nothing. It just sends them the text saying you're requesting peace. So there's always a bit of a mind game where I request for peace. I promise I won't attack you, swearsies.
I mean, it's the prisoner's dilemma at that point. So in real time, and I think everyone's just going to say, nope, I'm just going to go back against my word. I'm going to do what's good for me at any given moment.
They start to build up a suspicious number of chickens on your border.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is what the 8-player version looks like. I still have the nav mesh, so you can still see it. And each one of these is a tower. This one I put some trees around. They each have like a tower with their spawners. And then the thought was like you spawn, go jungle around behind your base for the first 30 seconds or so, grabbing up enough gold to get your first items. then start dropping dudes on the spawners, and then exploring out and jungling either off here, or out towards the middle area, and then put slightly harder jungle mobs, and then finally put the big dragon dude right there in the middle that you can go fight. And then I think like for the jungle mobs, I was thinking what to do is just split up the gold reward from them based on the percent of damage done, since it's not really team based. That way it's not just a sit around and wait to gank the last hit, but just do a percentage based on damage done. That way there'd be incentive to team up and go kill the guy in the middle too. So you'd be like, hey, me, you, and this other guy are gonna go kill the dude in the middle. We'll get the advantage, and then take everybody else out. That's the thought. Now it's like I said, art, polish, and balance is where I'm at.
How are people supposed to be communicating?
I figured just voice chat.
Oh, okay,
Voice or text chat. I'll probably just put them both in. Straightforward to draw. I mean, right now I'm not going to put any of those in until somebody actually plays the game. But as soon as somebody's actually playing the game and wants to voice chat, I will drop that in real quick.
Good for baseline testing. Something else might be to consider is a little preset option. So like in Hearthstone, you can't directly communicate with your opponent, but you have like the little right-click squelches and basic interacts. Providing that creates an interesting dynamic where A, you don't have to worry about abusive chat as often, but B, the game now involves communication. So it's not just free form. I only have a limited number of
That's
symbols.
a good idea.
And the implication of like what I said to you now has unique context.
Yeah, how would you present that in the UI? Like, so say there's 7 other people that I want to chat with, and I mean, realistically, I probably just care mostly about the 2 people that are next to me, right? So how do you go about making it easy to chat with the people that you want to chat? I mean, how would you?
Maybe you
could put them like on the mini map, and you just click them on the mini map, or
like a little toolbar you could bring up if you like hit tab or Y, which would normally be chat. It shows every little person, or just a little global option. You click that, then it just shows all of your preset options for hello or goodbye, I want peace, or I don't want peace. Like you can blast to everyone, I want peace, guys. I'm just playing a farming sim, and little do you know, he's building up the Doom chicken farm to just raid the entire map. Don't leave him alone. Don't trust him.
Yeah, you could display the because I imagine people would be playing. They're not going to want to go to another screen. They're playing, right? So maybe your there could be some UI indicating that somebody is saying something or communicating towards you, but maybe their characters can also have a little bubble so that if you're fighting them and they suddenly say, they show the number 8 instead or something, you're like, oh, they're going past me. They're not coming to me. They're going past me. Whether that's true or not, I guess you will find out soon enough. But you could kind of signal things to different people that way. And
that makes sense. You could just do like bubble text over all their units' heads that are relevant to that player or they're sending the message to.
Yeah. And you could, of course, then lie. And then player 8, if you're attacking player 8, you could tell them 1, and then you're lying to them. But
yeah. No, that seems interesting. It seems like a very quick one. I could probably add that in just an hour or 2. Oh, it looks like Russell might be joining us in just a second too.
Nice.
So one of the things I wanted to share too, real quick, was how I was getting the data into here. So for the classes, they've all got all these stats here. And oops, I think I just hit the plus. And if I want to go add a stat, it's kind of a pain in the ass to go like find all of the stat entries, go add another entry, and go change it for each individual one. So one of the things that I've set up here that I just want to show, probably the last thing on here, is this sheet. So if I screen share the other window, classes, there we go. So we've got this sheet right here, and I can just put in the stat names right here. So just give it a stat name, give it the value, and then there's a button I can hit on the scriptable object that'll just check this sheet, find the thing that matches the stat or the class name, and then it will look for each one of these stat entries, and then it'll either add it or update to match whatever's in the sheet. So I can just go into the sheet, see all of my data right here, nice and easily, and hit a button to just dump those straight into the scriptable objects. Super handy, and it makes it really easy for like just large scale balancing and seeing the data. I could always just like build tools in the editor to do it, but it's really overkill for I'm going to look at it. The tools wouldn't be as good as me just using a sheet anyway, at least not for what I want to do. For tools to be valuable, they got to add some extra functionality, and there's really not much that it could do there. So
yeah, if you're working with play testers or designers who are not in the editor directly or not used to being in the editor all the time, using Google Sheets is a great way of allowing them to change things without, coming into the editor and potentially clicking the wrong button.
Or having to especially if they're super non-directly technical, bothering to have to open up the editor, sift through, creating version control, separate non-editor tooling just for enter a Google Sheet and just hit this magic button, it all goes, and you can just hit play is best. Not everyone needs to be a full-on Unity dev to engage with parts of the system.
And in fact, I would even, Jason, go so far to build a debug mode that says every time I press play, grab the latest updates from the sheet, so that somebody who is doing play testing can just change the sheet, press play again. It grabs the new data. You don't have to go to the editor at all. You could even make them a build and say, go figure out the right balancing, play with the numbers.
Oh yeah, you definitely grab it runtime. And the code for this, by the way, it was 2 requests to Writer's AI. I said, hey, write me a class and a method that will let me look up a row by name in Google Sheet and then get back the columns. He gave me that, and then I had to write another thing to convert them to stats. Actually, I don't even think I asked it a question. I think then I just made the method to write stats, and it auto-completed the rest, and I fixed like 1 or 2 little things in there, and that was it. Grabbed the Google API. Writer was nice because it knew which package to grab, so it just grabbed the package from NuGet, and then I just copied over the DLLs for the Google Sheets API. The one thing you do have to do though is strip out the other .NET versions of it, because when you grab that, it has like all the versions. So
Google also has the publish to web option on the Google Sheets where you can publish the CSV to the web, and a lot of tools that use import just do that. Then you copy the URL. And then
go straight to there with no authentication at all.
Yeah. So I guess there's multiple ways to work with Google Sheets.
Yeah, that would be even simpler. I set up authentication, but I just followed Writer's AI. Just gave me step-by-step instructions on how to set it up. I was like, oh, okay, that's really, really simple. Just went through and it took me about 10 minutes.
All of it's just right there and already kind of written for the use case.
Yeah. So you're Google stuck now.
So how's it going, Russell?
How's it going, everybody? It's kind of like the week before Christmas for game devs. Being GDC next week, so really exciting.
Yep, I see you on Monday. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one. So, just come in to hang out, say hi, and check in with y'all.
Howdy.
Well, so we've been tearing apart my game, or getting some feedback on it at least. Trying to get it done before GDC, so just need to go in and redo all of the art and animations and balance in the next day. Should be easy enough.
Amazing.
But I was curious on your thoughts on the stuff that we talked about at the beginning too, some of the AI stuff. So right at the beginning, we were taking a look at the chat avatar and Ronin model generation stuff. And I mean, you're big on AI. Do you have any thoughts for like what's going to be going on with GDC AI wise? Is there going to be lots of this game dev new tech stuff getting announced and shown off there, or stuff that people maybe already announced and just haven't, and nobody's seen yet because GDC hasn't happened?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I mean, Corvallis is also a big, AI guy, so he'll have a lot of great insights, and I'm sure he already had some.
Oh yeah, he did. He went first.
Yeah, so I mean, I think what's going to be really interesting is that you're starting to see, the executives at these gaming companies really leaning into what's possible now. I remember reading an article like last week by EA CEO that was talking about how, there are so many areas that they can kind of leverage AI in their workflows. And I think what we're going to see is a lot of tools that devs will lean on to kind of accelerate that process, right? Like, I think a lot of the concept, like pre-production workflows, I think are going to be really impacted by the tools that we're going to see. I think the player, kind of like even the services that you don't really think about, like user acquisition, like being able to market your game cheaper. Tools that are kind of like on the back end are also going to make a kind of a bigger impact than we think right now. I mean, as players and gamers ourselves, right? Like we're kind of focused on like the asset stuff and the character stuff. But I think a lot of the areas where we're going to see kind of outsized impact is going to be on the services and the stuff that runs the games that we don't really see, right? Like instead of, with games launching with server infrastructure, that's like either you kind of hit or miss. What if there were better tools to like improve how server resourcing happens when big launches happen, stuff like that? I'm sure to some rudimentary level these exist already at these cloud providers, but I mean, I know for a fact, like trying to get into Helldivers, trying to get into like Last Epoch over the last, month or two, like that player experience is probably one of the bigger pain points, is how do we get these services up and running faster? And I think that's where we're going to see a lot of surprises.
Also note, Russell, can you up the gain a little bit on your mic? Because some people have been worried they can't quite hear you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll shift this closer. Is that a little better?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, you gotta make out with the microphone.
Yeah. I see the Jason special. I got it.
Yeah, gotta get your tongue on there.
That's why it's so important to choose the right mic.
Is that a blue snowball?
This is a snowball. I have a Yeti somewhere in the house. I just gotta. I recently found the thread adapter for this mic stand, which is great, and the pop filter really helps. But yeah, it's a blue snowball actually. Good eye, Greg.
Snowball kept me going for years. I stole this mic from my brother. Although it's actually perfectly clipped out now that I see it, but my hand disappears because it's right here.
Oh, it is. What is it?
Magical. It's an Audio Technica. It's my first XLR mic.
Oh, okay.
Nice. But yeah, lots of AI stuff coming. Really
power
exciting.
of NVIDIA, okay? I'm literally using NVIDIA Broadcast right now, and that's what's perfectly like culling it out of the frame because it can tell that it's a microphone. If I bring it a little closer, it bleeds in just a little bit.
Oh, there it is. Nice.
But very quickly on what Russell had said, AI tooling has always been kind of creeping up on us in more subtle ways in applications and in things we use. That's secretly where probably the bulk of AI content comes from. It's been in phones for adjusting camera and image quality. It's been in apps, Instagram, any form of like really photo-based application. It's been there, slowly assisting quality of life and tooling, and that's where you're going to continue to see it, where the kind of the unsung heroes of AI. We see everyone's mutated image generation. What you don't see are the fundamental technologies providing better network servicing, better load balancing, all of the other real industry assists that it can provide.
I had been seeing AI generated art on the Asset Store since 2019. Nobody knew. And then all of a sudden Midjourney came out and everyone was like, everything's AI art, even when it wasn't. So,
it's both a credit to AI a little bit that people can't tell the difference, and a bit of a discredit to some artists for good art direction carries you so far.
Yeah.
And nobody's as good an artist as me, as you can tell from my my beautiful bard picture there. That's my favorite of them.
It is cute. Oh, it came up in chat. Gray boxing with AI tech. I like to call it. We're trademarking it now. We're AI boxing, where instead of just using the gray box, spam out some pictures in Midjourney in a Dolly, fill it in.
Some gray eye boxing. Okay. Well, do you guys take a couple questions before you run out of time? I got to go relatively soon because I got a call coming up. But there are a few questions in chat. I felt like we could jump into. The first one that came in was about board games. I thought Andrew might have a good idea on this, but I'm wondering if you have a playlist for learning how to make a board game.
I don't have one directly. There are many well put together YouTube channels that have tips on making board games, and next week I'm having dinner with a guy who is very big on board game design, Jeff Engelstein. Some of you may know his name in the board game world. Jason might join us as well. And I hope to bring him on the show, and we can talk about board game design. He also does just game design in general, because there's, of course, game design is game design. Doesn't matter the medium. But yeah, so I don't have a specific one, but there are a lot of YouTube channels that do really good board game tips, and some of them go the realm of like, okay, you're trying to make a prototype game. Let's start with that. Some go with just the theory of design. Some go with the logistics of, how do you actually go from your computer to cardboard to playtesting, and what do you do during playtesting? How do you effectively playtest, etc. That sort of iterative cycle, the loop of, if you will, of board game production and design. And then some will take you all the way to Kickstarter and pitching to publishers.
Is there one that stands out for
Yeah, I was
somebody
about to say
like getting
there's
started?
actually- there is one. Let me find. It's the Jamie Stegmaier, the Stonemaier Games guy. Does a lot of Stegmaier. Does a lot of, just basically tutorials and short, quick little YouTube things. Of course, he is also, shilling his own games, which makes sense. But I just put a link there in the chat to his channel. But like the top one that comes up on YouTube when I go there is 10 Steps to Design a Tabletop Game 2020 version. So 4 years ago, but it's a 16-minute video on, his steps. So that's a great place to start.
Nice. So just link that in chat. Does anybody else have thoughts on board game learning?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things I did in my game dev undergrad was tweaking and understanding like paper prototyping, board games. And one of the things that I thought was really useful is we took games that we like recognized the rules really well of, like chess or like, Monopoly, and then we were kind of tasked with adding DLC, like adding our own kind of like tweaks to the rules and like adding our own concepts and game mechanics. And as somebody who's getting started with that realm of game design, I think you see this in the modding scene too. It's like they take this established rules and foundations of a game, and then they kind of add their own twist and add their own flavor to it. And I think that's a really good way to start thinking about that as well.
General game design applies well to board games. Board games are a form of media. So if you want to branch out to looking up the resource of just general game design and game theory out there, will help you with board game design.
That's good stuff. There's a lot more comments, questions coming in real quick. Before I jump to them, though, I saw this button and I almost forgot. If anybody is interested in learning multiplayer game development, including the source code for this MOBA stuff, the multiplayer mastery course is still open and still on sale just through the end of GDC. Then I'm going to start to close it up. We're going to go through the last couple big topics and live calls. So we don't have a live call Monday because I'm going to be landing or walking into GDC at 9 a.m. on Monday. But the Monday after that, we're going to be resuming the live calls. So if you're interested in that, there's the link, and it's half off right now, and then it's changing soon. And also, there was a comment in chat too from one of the people who signed up. I did a little bit of consulting, just one-on-one time. And so far it's gone really, really well. I've been able to actually help people way more than I thought. And it's been good. So if anybody's interested in that, it's on the page at game.courses. You can find it. But somebody mentioned it in the chat. One of the people who came through it. Now let me find these other questions. Okay. What pattern do you use for saving, loading, and resetting objects? And this was one that Walter followed up on this too a little bit. Let me find the follow-up part. I missed it. For example, would each object that can change in a scene implement its own interface and iState action, which hands the object to JSON and serialize it? So they're talking about like keeping track of game state in a game. You've got things that are in a level that maybe you've got levers that can go up and down, doors that can open and close, objects that could be moved or picked up, and wondering how you go about dealing with that in your own projects. And I've got a couple things that I do, but I'm curious who wants to take this first. This is a very interesting technical one, I think. Any volunteers?
I can imagine doing an interface for I am resettable or I am poolable type of thing. I recently have been doing my first object pooling, and I've learned a bunch with that. And so on the very basic, my first thought was, well, have a reset. Don't use reset because that's an actual keyword event for Unity, but have your own reset method that you can call to reset your object. And you can do that at the first time you spawn it, but every other time you bring it back from a pool or something.
But this is more, I think, saving and loading data. So you're running through your game.
Okay.
You moved an object. You moved this box from point A to point B, and you opened a door. You saved the game, and you want to load back in. What does that look like?
So the game modules for save game system, it uses a JSON format and a load and save state on it is an interface. It's an iSaveable or something like that interface. And then every object has a special class that basically will handle the saving and loading. It just goes through all the components, and if the component is savable, then it will have its unique ID. Pull that from the save file. It's more complicated than that, but it's essentially every iSaveable interface will get saved automatically through a JSON thing.
You consumed Russell in the ad, Jason.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I know. I just realized because that's on the flash deal today, isn't it?
It's on the flash sale right now, and I forgot to send an email out. Oh my!
Yeah, it's literally like the flash deal for today or yesterday. It's either 60 or 70% off right now.
70% off right now. It's today, I think. And yesterday I saw it on the stream or the day before, and I didn't. Oh my! I even said I need to remember to make an email. I didn't.
Oh yeah.
Oh
it's
yeah,
on there.
60% off. Sorry, you missed the 70% off, everybody. But it's 60% off. It's still worth $32, by the way. But
well, it includes more than just the save thing. But so
yeah,
and that's how you do yours. Anybody else to have thoughts on a save load implementation?
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of this with one of the early VR games with tracking position of objects. We ended up using scriptable objects. We had an interface to kind of have these common functions that we needed accordingly to like saving and moving things. But I also want to kind of highlight that make sure that the things that you need to save are really intentional, right? Like a lot of the times a checkpoint system can get you where you need to go and not have to track as much data, because the more data you have to handle on your state machine side of things, the more things can go missing, and you can kind of have like unintentional state progression issues if you forgot to put this like important item in the right spot in the scene. But if you have a checkpoint system that's kind of like, has player done XYZ, and then every time you just check against that scriptable object, you put the things in the assumed location, you save yourself a lot of headache. Like we actually ended up saving all the vector 3s of everything, and then we started realizing we didn't need to do that, and that really saved us a lot of overhead.
Yep.
If they put the thing on the table, you can just mark that as they put it on the table, and you have a position on the table where it goes when you need to reload it.
You just assume, right? Like,
because it gets you there. It's a question of your game's intentionality. Do you need to know every box placement that has been moved? Your game might, if it's especially like a builder or more physics interactive sim, in which case you'd have everything taggable with like an interface. It would register itself if it has been moved. Otherwise, it's in its default state. If not, only track when you need to. If there's levers been pulled or not. I don't care if they've blown up the room and shattered all items everywhere. Since the game doesn't need to care about that, reset them to their default state when you load back up. Meaning, just don't save them. You can get a lot done with just choosing what you save, registering it with your state manager, and using JSON as the medium to persist it. I love JSON as a medium too. It's nice and easy, and because I'm very, very pro modding, very easy to modify or have a secondary person come by and mod.
And easy to read and debug. All right, let's go. There are a couple more questions, and I got to get running. This one was for Christina about the work-life balance in game dev in Germany, how it compares to the U.S. Is it as crazy? I know some people in the U.S. have a pretty nuts work-life balance, but yeah, what's it like over there?
I am a hobby game developer, so my normal day is being a teacher. So I can't speak for all of Germany in game development. I would love to, but no.
You're supposed to represent the entire country.
Yeah, that's not going to work. No. I think, careful there, that it might be a bit more relaxed in Germany compared to the US, because we just have some systems in place that are not there in America, as far as I know. Like, for example, usually we have about 30 days of vacation time in Germany per year. It can be more, it can be less, but it's not like you have 4 days and that's it. Usually, our companies have some kind of what's it called? I want to call it the council of elders, but that's not the right term. It's once a business is above a certain number of people, and I think this number is 3 or 4 people, they need to have a representation. So when the boss says, "Hey, we are gonna do crunch time now," and this council can say no, and then there will be no crunch time. Basically, please don't quote me on this. As I said again, I'm not in the business.
I petition for
but-
Council of Elders to be in every game dev studio now. I think that's the official term. Thanks, Christine.
It's not really the elders, because that's a democratic progress. My sister does it a lot. Those people are not paid for their jobs and for the work they put in, but they are basically like a representation of the workers of the company. So whenever layoffs happen, they can make sure, yeah, okay, we can maybe agree that layoffs have to happen, but maybe not those people. And if we have to lay off people, they will go into a separate system, and we will try to train them to be easily employable at other different companies, for example. So I guess it's a little bit safer being a game developer in Germany. At least I hope. But on the flip side, we don't have that many companies doing big game development things. I think in Frankfurt and Berlin. But apart from Frankfurt and Berlin, I know about no. Ubisoft. I think we have Ubisoft. And that's in Düsseldorf. So maybe 3 big game development studios, maybe.
Oh,
Not a lot.
interesting. Yeah, I always wonder what it's like in all over the world. It seems like the culture in game companies seems kind of static across them, but I wonder like how much the actual regional stuff makes a difference. So this is interesting.
Just
Go
one
ahead.
more thing. I just see kind of like having a union.
Yeah.
We have unions and we have these councils. So we can have multiple levels of support. So that's really, really nice.
Actually,
All right,
layers
so
of worker protection.
2 more things I wanted to hit real quick before I gotta go. The first was Rage Run Games. Excited for Wednesday's stream. On Wednesday next week, instead of Friday, doing a live stream from the Unity office. There will be some people there that you will probably recognize, some people you might not recognize, announcing some really cool and exciting stuff. Make sure that you hit the alert button and all that stuff. Get ready for it. It's going to be right from Unity, people from Unity, hopefully revealing some awesome new stuff. I don't even know what all is going to get announced. I just know that we're going to be announcing a couple things from a couple people that I've talked to. And then, yeah, so be ready for that. And then there was a comment about the live calls for the multiplayer course. If you haven't seen it, it's just on the resources page. So you didn't see the link. It's right there. It's actually on the resources page for the racing game, the racing part of the course. So it's marked as 23. But the calls, the Zoom calls are right there when you're logged in. What time is the Wednesday show? It will be at 8:30, so 30 minutes earlier than this. And I'm going to be sending out a bunch of emails and a couple little short videos about it over the weekend as well. If you're not signed up for those emails, you can sign up at game.courses. I just put a little thing up at the top. Any other announcements or things that I should mention before we wrap stuff up, everybody? Obviously, game modules is still on flash sale, and that other editor extensions kit that I really like is like in a day or 2 it's going up on there.
Nice.
Broadly, just coming soon. Trademark. Always underscore that trademark part. Don't believe me on time dates. I've been modding Persona 3 for fun, and now that midterms are over, I have survived. I can go back to that. Should be out this month as a fun thing. It's been an interesting challenge getting back into animation, and Persona 3 was built in Unreal, so I had to refamiliarize myself with that. that pipeline. Fun project that I want to make a video on too. So be on the lookout for that.
Nice. Greg, you got anything?
No, I was just going to ask if people were seeing much Unity hate, from the whole pricing debacle that happened last year. Because, I have a Medium subscription, and, there's lots of good stuff up there about, productivity tools and work-life balance stuff, and just even software development principles and stuff. But I've been seeing an uptick in articles about why Unity's dead, why you should switch to Godot, and it seems like they're just rehashing the old pricing debacle that happened last year. And I'm wondering if anybody else is seeing that trend.
I've not seen it a lot, but drama will always sell. So whenever you can play on a popular narrative of X thing is bad, you will probably see that forever, because there's just enough people that will forever be salty about it that it'll just keep perpetuating. It was a bad thing that happened, but
yeah. And GDC coming up, perhaps people are like, well, I need clicks right now. Nothing has happened controversial recently, and so let me rehash this right before GDC, hoping to get on a bandwagon of people going to GDC and searching Unity or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Epic kind of slid in an increase like last week to their terms, right? So
they had one.
I think the kind of backlash because of how unexpected that change was, and how kind of retroactively that was affecting studios that have been in production for so many years, was pretty reasonable and understandable. I think moving forward, I'm sure the team has kind of learned its lesson, right?
Yeah.
And so I agree with everyone here. It's going to be clickbait for a lot of this.
I think even Apple released some essentially similar fee on their things, and people didn't seem to bat an eye, because I guess it's Apple, so Apple's allowed to.
I think that was part of their European Union.
Yeah, but either way, it's a similar, like it's a per user or per install fee.
That was Apple pseudo retaliating over a different restriction. Apple's complicated, and it really likes to fight whenever anyone tries to restrict it doing whatever it wants. Side note, they banned the Epic Games developer account and then unbanned it just because the CEO of Epic said a very mean tweet about Apple, and they actually used that as the reason for we're deactivating your developer account. Yeah. If you stop being mean, we'll reactivate it.
I read all those emails, and that's a whole topic in itself. I read all those emails, and at the end I was like, I kind of agree with Apple here on this one. I wouldn't trust them either. It's pretty clear that Epic is not intending to just sit back and be like, okay, we're going to play good now. They will do whatever they want, and they have shown that they are willing to put all of their developers at risk by going to battle with Apple in a way that's malicious, really.
A legal suit, yeah. It's an interesting back and forth, but yeah, just for the Unity process, it'll probably be rehashed. People will probably never let it live it down, so you'll probably see memes referring to it forever, every time, especially there's an installation fee. But it's not been a big concurrent thing, more or less.
I go to Reddit, our game dev, about every day in the morning, and every day there is at least one person talking about, oh, I can't trust them anymore. What should I do? And everybody's just deal with it.
Yeah.
Either make games in it or don't.
Even game dev seems to be fed up with it.
It ultimately, for any person to trust any corporation, like it, it's sad perhaps, but corporations are not your best friend. They're corporations, and they're going to do things that you don't always agree with, and sometimes you're not going to be happy about it.
Yeah. And somebody else mentioned about how Unity's editor tools are just so easy to build. And Infinzia, the guy that makes all the 3D models and stuff, and he has like his 10-minute challenge where he'll model like a Star Destroyer in 10 minutes or something. Well, he just posted a video where he's trying to pull a model into Unreal. And, he's used Unity for 10 years. And he was just talking about all the pain that he was having to get it, first of all, to get it to have the right orientation and have the pivot points for all the individual components be correct. He could not get it to do both. And he had to go through all these massive hacks just to get it to somewhat work. And this is a guy who's like an expert 3D modeler and Blender expert. And I can even like kind of add to that, just because I'm a amateur Blender modeler, but so much of the mod process,
was figuring out Unreal's very unique specifications for the FBX importer. It's powerful. It gives you a lot more options just from the click and drag, but in Unity's case, it kind of handles that for you, and then you can deal with the specifications later. Unreal will put the menu in front of you right then and there. You have to make a lot of decisions, and some of those decisions you'll regret later. Like blend shapes are not imported by default. I have several times imported my model. Where are all the facial animate? Oh, because none of the blend shapes came in. That's not toggled by default. So I have to find the option, re-enable it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a very unique engagement. It's powerful. I've learned to enjoy it and respect it more, but it is very different. Unity's whole 3D system is easier to start with. Unreal's is more complicated, but potentially gives more power. There's an interesting set of trade-offs. Oh, and it can't handle submeshes, which is interesting. But again, that's a whole way too technical conversation.
All right. Well, I've got to get running, everybody. Got a meeting in just a few minutes, but this was great. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you're here with us live, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, come back on Wednesday. We're going to be live streaming from a special place. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll send out emails about that. And like I said, I'll make a couple community posts as well, putting up the links. Make sure you all join it, or just go queue it up. It's actually up right now. You should be able to view it and then queue it up right now. Anyway, thanks again. We will see everybody real soon. I'm going to, for the outro, just play my little promo that I made for myself. All right. See y'all later, everybody. Bye.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
See you later.
Happy GDC.
Bye.
Game Dev Show is sponsored by me. If you want to learn how to build multiplayer games and you're not sure how to start or how to get it done, go to game.courses and check out the Multiplayer Mastery course. It's my latest course on advanced game development, where you'll learn how to build both a peer-to-peer racing game and a Diablo-style RPG with inventory, abilities, and spells, and a whole lot more. And if you're a new game developer or just getting into the industry, check out the game program